Hello, my name is Denise Burke. I'm with the League of the League of Women Voters of Cheyenne. And with me today is Jordan Evans, a candidate for House District number 7. So Jordan, if you could please give us an introduction, a little more detail about you and your background.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me here today. Again, my name is Jordan Evans. I have lived in Cheyenne for almost my entire life, the exception being when I went to the University of Wyoming in Laramie and earned my degree in geography. I work in local government here, making maps. I work for Laramie County, and I think that experience has given me a great amount of insight into how all levels of government work and how local government is the government that's closest to the people and most effective and most impactful on the day-to-day lives of Wyoming citizens. I've never held an elected office for the public before, although I do serve as the chair of the Laramie County Democratic Party, which is an elected position among the precinct committee people of the Democratic Party here in Laramie County, and that has been an educating experience for me, a very informative experience. I'm not sure that party politics is for me in the future, but I've greatly enjoyed the people that I've been able to meet and the issues that we've been able to help address within our community. And other volunteer things that I do outside of party politics, I help I give rides to people in assisted living through Miles for Smiles, which is a Colorado-based organization, though we operate here in Cheyenne. I've served in the past on the Cheyenne Transportation Advisory Board, as well as briefly on the Cheyenne Schools Foundation. So I have some experience on boards and helping give feedback from the public to government and elected officials. And what motivates me to run for this position is primarily that the Wyoming that I grew up in and that I love, it feels like you often hear people bemoaning that people move here and they want to change, and they move, that people move here and they want to change Wyoming, and that's often couched as people moving from more liberal areas wanting to make it more liberal. But in my experience, what I'm actually finding is most of the people who are complaining about that have also moved here recently themselves from liberal states. But what they found was that Wyoming wasn't the conservative paradise that they imagined that it was. And they think that it's their responsibility to be the vanguard for what they imagined it is. And some of those people are well-intentioned and genuine. Some of those people, I think, see Wyoming as a soft target that they can exert a lot of influence over with very comparatively fewer resources as to other states. And it feels like they're running an experiment on our home. And that is something that I am determined to speak out against, because, and that's what motivates me. My daughter will be an adult in 8 years, and I would very much like her, unlike many of my friends from high school, I would like her to see a Wyoming where she sees a future in and that she wants to stay in. Many of our young people leave. And I think that the more we're running an experiment on our state and trying to prove political points instead of solving the very real problems that we're facing, we're not going to be making livable communities that attract our young people to stay. And that is just a compounding problem that snowballs down the line. And that's my main motivation.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to jump in with the questions. And just so the viewers know, that the candidates were provided the questions in advance. With a couple of, I'll introduce a couple of what we are calling flash feedback words, and those will happen. The words have not been given to the candidates, and I explained that to Mr. Evans before we began. So question number 1, what specific policies or reforms do you think Wyoming could effectively implement to reduce healthcare costs for the uninsured and underinsured?
The first and foremost thing would be to expand Medicare or Medicaid, because every state that has done it has brought in more federal money than they give out as far as it comes to healthcare. We have uninsured people that would be covered by Medicaid expansion, and I just think that it seems to be a no-brainer. It's fiscally responsible. It's the kind thing to do. It would help our rural hospitals who are losing money, providing care to uninsured people. And on the other side, just beyond policy, I would like to see us use some of the money that we put into savings already. I'd like to see us start establishing other revenue accounts to help support rural ambulance care or rural ambulance service and rural hospitals, either to fund incentives for people to stay and work. Perhaps maybe if you get your certification in Wyoming, we'll help pay for that certification, or maybe we can do hiring bonuses for people, because I think attracting talent is the hardest thing to do for those rural services. I think they have a hard time finding EMTs, they have a hard time finding doctors and nurses, and beyond just providing them a patient base that is able to pay for the services that they are given, also providing the people a livelihood that allows them to stay and live in the communities where they work would be hugely beneficial. And so those are kind of a two-pronged approach that I would like to see.
Great. Okay, the next question. What accountability and performance measurement standards should be required for all public, private, and charter schools?
So this is an intensely complex question. Public and charter schools are the same thing, essentially. In my opinion, I think that if you're receiving public money, then you are a public school and you should be required to meet the public standards. I think our existing standard process is not broken. I don't think that the government should be involved in providing standards for private schools. I think that the private school system exists separate of the government, and they should not be taking government funds under any circumstances. And in fact, most private schools in Wyoming are parochial schools, and the Wyoming Constitution specifically prohibits government funding going to parochial schools. So I think it's fair to say that if that's what you want for your child and that's the choice you're looking for, then you should be able to have a choice where you're outside of government testing and standards, and you're able to craft your child's either homeschooling or private schooling with the way that you desire. But if you're taking public funds, then we have an interest as the people of Wyoming in making sure that our money is spent in a responsible way. I think the existing way that we set standards and test for standards could use tweaking, and it is always being looked at by professionals. I think my daughter is in 5th grade. And I know that she takes 2 tests every year. When I was in school, not to say that it was better or more right, we took tests in 4th grade, 8th grade, and 10th grade. And that was how we viewed the standards. The testing every year, I know the kids don't like it. I know the teachers are frustrated by it. And I think perhaps the only improvement I could offer on the measurement of that would be maybe making it so that it's less tied to the fate of the school and the teacher and the administration, so that people are not chasing scores, but they're chasing a qualitative education. I know that teachers are frustrated with all of the curriculum that they have to try to pack in to meet the standards. And they often feel like there's not enough time in the school year to give kids the individual attention that they like, in addition to the fact that teachers are also leaving our state and leaving the profession. So I think the standards themselves are fine. The amount of testing that we do to measure it is perhaps excessive. But ultimately, I think we should trust the professionals in the education department and throughout the state to determine what those appropriate boundaries are. And we should stay out of regulating private schools in any way. Right. So long as there's the health and safety of the children is taken into account. The health department should still have to make sure that the school is providing a safe environment. But as far as the learning standards, I think that is the business of homeschool parents and private schools.
Great, thank you. Okay, here's the first of your flash words. And these are just words, again, that you were not given in advance, but you can give 1 or 2 sentences response. What is your response to the word arboretum?
Oh, man. So the High Plains Arboretum in Laramie County is a wonderful place that was a research station for developing interesting plants that could thrive here. And I would like to see in Laramie County, I would like to see it made into and I know there are lots of efforts. I'd like to see the historic preservation of that greenhouse out there. I would like to see it made into a place where people on their way out to the National Cemetery have a place that is peaceful, where they can visit, that's really well and tree covered. There's lots of interesting fruit out there. It's a very cool place, and any way that we can preserve it for future generations, both the history of it and the atmosphere of it, we should absolutely be doing.
Okay, the next question for you. What infrastructure investments do you think are necessary to support the state's long-term economic growth?
This is a really wonderful question. Um, what I would like to see is, as we transition away, as the market transitions away from extractive industries being the sole volatile industry that we rely upon for all of our revenues, I think that we can look to our neighbors, Utah, Colorado, Idaho, Montana, South Dakota. All of them have spent much more building out infrastructure to support outdoor recreation, which is one of the fastest growing industries in the United States, and especially in our region. I would like to see, pending a court case, I'd like to see us invest in putting infrastructure to allow the safe and legal crossing of corners, to make it easier for not just hunters, but all people to access the public lands that they are entitled to access. I would like to see us invest in trailheads and trails that bring people to southern Wyoming, specifically to enjoy connecting to the trails in Colorado and in Utah, be it on mountain bikes or whatnot. I'd like to see fees put in place that move the paradigm of conservation away from hunters and the conservation of land away from landowners and ranchers, so that everyone who's taking part in public lands and taking part in enjoying the resources of our wildlife, I'd like to see that photographers, hikers, mountain bikers, I'd like to see them also sharing some of that burden, because one user group has been unfairly, well, not unfairly, but it's a paradigm that is no longer reflective of reality. And so we need a way to fund these conservations. And lastly, I think that we could do great things as a state by investing directly in physical infrastructure to support dark skies. I think that the dark sky movement in Idaho and all around our region, you see towns that have lots and lots of tourism revenue and people traveling from all over the world to come look at celestial events, because the world is running out of places that are accessible, that are dark. And I think that Wyoming is poised to be able to provide a place where you would be able to look at the night sky and see some of the more awe-inspiring sights with very little spending on lights, street lights that focus all of their light down, doing public education to ask people to turn off lights at their homes at night. And I think we would see, if we invested in those, we would see outdoor industry and the night sky industry. It's not going to completely replace our extractive industries, but it's just one more arrow in the quiver that we could use in providing a diverse economy and diverse revenue streams that support the people who live here.
And now, how would you engage in constructive dialogue with those who have opposing views?
It sounds like a cop-out, but the answer is just to do it. You just have to talk to people. You have to go up and even if someone has said something that you find personally repugnant, they're a human being. They are entitled to their opinion. Their background, their lives have led them to have that opinion, and understanding why that is and understanding what their perspective and how it's different than yours is crucial to not just politics, but being a good and constructive person in the world. So I've never had any issue talking to people that I disagree with and listening to them. And I've even had my mind changed before. And I think that even if my mind is not changed, but through a conversation, I think kindness, open-mindedness with everyone, it's just crucial to feeling good as you navigate the world. And that approach would not change if I were to be serving alongside people I disagree with in the legislature, which, as a Democrat in Wyoming, would be almost everyone in the legislature. And I don't mean to complain about that. I think that Wyoming is a wonderful place, and I'd like to acknowledge that the Wyoming Republicans throughout my life have contributed to making Wyoming a great place. I just have a different vision of where I'd like us to see go in the future, and I'd like that vision to be respected as much as I respect the vision that they have.
Great. Okay, now your next flash feedback word, and it's the word disinformation.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot about disinformation recently. It's hard. It's hard to have those conversations with people that you disagree with when you're not even working from the same set of facts. Which that sounds. I mean, that is an oxymoronic statement, right? Everyone should be able to agree on facts. Unfortunately, trust in media institutions, trust in government institutions has been eroded to such that nobody really feels that they can trust information fully that they're receiving. I think finding ways to find places where we agree that common facts, where we can agree upon, starting there is going to be key to rebuilding that trust with all of our institutions. That is not a problem that I have a unilateral solution for, unfortunately. I think it's going to take all of us working together. But it is certainly a problem that affects every American in a palpable way.
Okay, thank you. Now I'll give you a couple of minutes to provide your closing comments, and I'll give you about 1.5 to 2 minutes to wrap things up for us. Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
Get the cane, knock me out. I just would like to thank the people of House District 7 for their consideration, and the people of Wyoming. I love this place so much. I travel the state. My daughter loves growing up here. We were at Kurt Gowdy this weekend. We were at Lander 2 weeks ago. We're going up to the Bighorns to visit friends. There's just so many places that you can go and explore, and so many kind people and interesting people everywhere that you go. Each community has its own flavor, and I think that if you grew up here, if you've lived here for a long time, it's almost impossible to put into words how special this place is. People who are not from here don't fully appreciate it unless they come and embrace it, and they decide to be part of our community. And then you learn quickly. You can learn in a few weeks what makes this place special. But for a state that has such a small population that's often forgotten about in the national conversation, I often feel lucky to be part of the club that knows what makes this place so special. And I would like to preserve that feeling for future generations. And I think that while I think focusing on our fiscal responsibility or individual policies, these are all important discussions that need to be had. I think operating from a center of, less technocratic and leading from a place maybe a bit more sentimental might help us get some of the policies that will actually achieve those goals through. And that's why I would ask for the vote from the people of Northwestern Cheyenne, the Uncle Charlie service area, as I call it. But I just would appreciate your vote and your consideration. And I do certainly love this state. And I hope that no matter how you vote, that you get to get out and experience what makes it so wonderful.
Right. So the last part of the conclusion then is, what's your greatest strength, and why should voters choose you over the other candidate?
My greatest strength is my ability to talk to other people. My entire life, I feel like it's taken me a while to realize that it's a strength that I have. But my entire life, I've been able to make friends. My entire life, I've been able to understand and empathize with what people are going through. And it felt natural to me. And it took until I was an adult before I realized that it was something that I had a skill at. And my ability to understand and process information and empathize with what other people are saying gives me the unique strength of being able to meet just about anyone that I meet on their level and relate to them. And that helps get my ideas across to them as well. And I've had great conversations all over the country, all over the world, all over the state. And I think that strength would allow me to help get the issues that we really care about, saving our state from some of the more pressing problems that it's facing. I think that I would be able to, in a short amount of time, be able to make a real impact on those. And that's why I think that the people should vote for me.
Great. Thank you. Again, I'm just wrapping up our interview with Jordan Evans. He's a candidate for House District number 7. Jordan, thank you for your time today. And with that, we will conclude our interview. Thank you,
Thank you
Jordan.
so much. Yeah,
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.